So this is an introductory video to Avalon Hill's Gettysburg from 1988. I'm going to do a series of playthrough videos. So first I wanted to introduce you to the game, the components, and do a brief overview of the rules. This was part of their Smithsonian series. They did several games. They did a Battle of the Bulge. I have that one. They did a D-Day. I have that one. I guess they sold these at the Smithsonian or something, but it's an introductory level war game. See right there, low complexity. And I would say it is the most introductory level war game maybe that I've ever played. I've taught several people how to play war games with this game. A couple bags of counters there. It comes with one sheet of rules. Here you go. You read this sheet of rules and you are ready to play the game. It really can't be much simpler than that. It also comes with a battle manual. The battle manual has historical notes. It has some optional rules. It has some examples of play. It's kind of an interesting read. Game comes with 2 setup cards, one for the Confederacy, one for the Union. So these are some house rules that I developed for the game, came up with, but we won't worry about those. Oh, this is a little mail-in catalog for Avalon Hill, an order form. Forgot that was in there. Okay, the game comes with 2 D10s, and it comes with 2 mounted map boards. Pretty small, but it's a nice board. It looks pretty nice. You got the round tops over here, Chambersburg Pike. You got Rock Creek, Willoughby Run. Anyways, it's a pretty nice little board. So let's go over the rules real quick. Counters have 2 factors on them. They have a combat factor and they have a movement factor. The other numbers are the entry turn and the unit parent organization, basically which corps they belong to. This is a division level game, each unit representing 1 division. The game also comes with general units that represent the generals of each division, and of course Meade and George Robert E. Lee, I mean to say. The game has every 2 hours is a turn, and at the end of each day there's a night turn. You're allowed to stack 2 units in a hex if you have a general with them. Units have a very simple zone of control. It is not a locking zone of control. You can move from zone of control. Basically, think of it this way. I can go from here to there in a zone of control, but I can't go from here to there. So other than that, it's pretty basic. During night turns, you're not allowed to enter zones of control, and if you're in a zone of control, you have to retreat from it. Few movement modifiers, half movement on the road. Generals that are stacked with divisions or units can give them 1 extra movement factor. Woods cost an extra movement factor. Rough hills causes an extra, and streams cost an extra. Oh yes, and it also costs 1 extra movement factor to enter an enemy zone of control. I guess they're trying to simulate that, you know, when you march to the enemy, you're in column, but when you get there, you get in formation, so it takes an extra movement to actually go adjacent to the enemy. The setup sheets have the units laid out, and it has their starting hex. So Heath over here, Heath's division, comes in at S1 on the Chambersburg Pike. Units do not come in column. You simply count the first hex as the first movement factor, and you move them from there. Adjacent enemy units have to be in combat with each other. All enemy units you're adjacent to, you have to fight with. While you're not locked into zones of control, if you're beside them at the end of the turn, you gotta have combat. The combat is very simple in this game. the units, you take their combat factors. So for instance, Rhodes here has a +6. That's his combat factor. And we'll take Wadsworth here. Wadsworth has a 3. So what you do is you take your 10-sided dice, and we'll do Confederate red, Union white. And basically you roll the dice and you add the combat factors to the die roll. So Rhodes gets +6, so he's at 7. Wadsworth gets a +3, so he's at 11. So Wadsworth wins the game. Now, if you win a combat, the losing party has to immediately retreat. If you win by 3 to 5, the losing side has to take a step loss, be flipped over. If you win by 6 or more, the losing side is eliminated from the game. They take 2 step losses. The divisions are all 2-step units. So in that scenario, Rhodes' division would have been annihilated by off the map, which would kind of stink. Okay, retreat movement's pretty basic too. You can retreat into an enemy zone of control, but if possible, you have to choose a hex free of enemy zone of control. You can retreat through friendly units, but again, if possible, choose an open hex. Mark losses by flipping units, and of course, attacker can occupy a retreated or vacated hex immediately after the combat. There are 2 optional rules in the battle manual that I like to use. Let me find them. Generals, commanding generals. Basically it says generals usually can stack any 2 units, but now in order to stack 2 units they have to be part of the same corps. So Ewell cannot stack divisions from A.P. Hill's corps or vice versa. So I like that rule. It keeps the generals with the corps, and it just looks a little more historically accurate on the map. The one exception to the rule is Lee and Meade. They can stack any 2 units in their armies. The other rule I like to use is the initiative marker. When the game begins, the Confederates start with the initiative marker. Well, if they do a combat roll and don't like the results, they can spend the initiative marker to re-roll. They have to pass the initiative marker to the Union player, but then they get to re-roll. So for instance, in that last combat, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Confederate player would want to spend his initiative marker to re-roll and make sure he doesn't lose all of Rhodes' division. I like that rule. I don't know, it's a little gamey, but I think it's fun, and I just like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up, and we will start. Like I said, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 1 day per video. So we'll have 3 videos, and let's see how this goes. Okay.